Hey, what's up guys? So last video, I talked about how much I recommend having to start off to make private label a success. I said a minimum of a couple $1,000s. Now in that video, I also said I was gonna come up with some tips that'll help you guys get a little more capital if you're in this spot of not having enough, or maybe you just launched your private label item, but it feels like you're running on fumes in your bank account. So stay tuned and check out these expert tips on how to save a little extra money or build a little more capital. All right, now before I get into this subject, I want to start off by asking you guys a question. How bad do you want it? Seriously, how bad do you want to get into private label and to be a success at it? Or for anything that you try to do in life. Now, why do I ask that? Some of the things that I'm gonna say or recommend for you guys to do are not gonna be the easiest things. They're not gonna fall into your comfort zone, and they're gonna take a little bit of work and a little bit of sacrifice. But when you look around, I would say 90% of the population, maybe 95%, fall in this range of, they do just about the average, right? And in order to be successful at something like private label, or to get out of a situation where you don't have much capital and you need to get into private label, you can't just be average, right? You have to be that 10% who I like to call our killers, right? These people are willing to do whatever it takes. So is that you? Well, we're gonna find out, because I'm gonna give you some tips and hopefully you can apply them. I wanna give you a little story. Now, when I was 18, 19, I worked at Costco. Thanks to Costco, pushing carts for 8 hours in the rain, making $11 an hour, it gave me the motivation to wanna try to find something else. So I appreciate that about Costco. But you know, another good thing about Costco was I was a cashier, and every single person who came through my line, I looked at their card, and it said what business they owned, if they owned one. Right? And I was looking for inspiration to try to figure out something else besides working for the man. Because I was like, okay, I've had enough of this. Well, one day, this one story sticks out in my mind when it comes to someone who is highly motivated. There was this Chinese guy who came through my line, and he had on this cool necklace that had like this big jade stone, right? And in his, on his card, it said, so-and-so smog shops. And so I said, you know, checking out his groceries, so, how'd you start your smog shop? And he said, you know, I came to the United States 3 years ago. I didn't really speak the language at all. I started working at McDonald's. I worked full time. And not only that, I ate potatoes. That's all I ate was potatoes, right? I saved up $40,000 in 3 years. And with that money, I opened my first smog shop. Now I have 3 smog shops and I don't work at all. I just go and check on the different employees. Now I was blown away, right? Because this is a person who is willing to go above and beyond anything that I've heard anybody else do, right? He was willing to, he didn't know the language. He was willing to work a job that maybe most people wouldn't want to work, something like fast food. Not only that, but he was willing to even eat potatoes, and that was it, right? But look where it got him. So with that kind of motivation, you can accomplish a lot. So when it comes to getting extra capital, it falls into 2 different areas. The first one is spending less. And the second one is earning more. We're gonna talk about that first one, spending less. Now, I recommend you to do this if you don't already. Unless you're tracking your spending by Quicken or QuickBooks, something like that, I recommend printing out your last 3 months' credit card statements or bank statements and laying them out, and then either get an Excel sheet going or just a notepad, and start to add up where your money goes, right? Fast food, eating out, right? Recreation, going to movies, going out to drinks with friends, whatever it is. You know, $150 a month for your DirecTV, car payments, everything, right? It can be a little sobering, but really write it down. Be honest with yourself and check it out and start to see, where is my money going? You know, they actually have books that are dedicated to being a millionaire just by spending less. I'll give a link to one that I recommend down below in the description. And I recommend, you know, if you can have time to read something like that, to do it. There'll be way more tips than what I'm gonna give you in this couple-minute video. So once you lay it all out there, really take a sobering look at it. Okay, can I cut back on any of these areas, right? I'm not saying to cut back on everything, but let's say you have this nice car, right? And you have a pretty decent payment, a couple $100 a month. And you say, man, but I just want to look good, man. I love this car. I like how it drives. I feel good when I drive it. Well, can you sacrifice that feeling now to potentially have that even more so in the future? Can you drive maybe a car that isn't, you know, the one that's most eye-catching, but in order to serve a greater purpose? Now, I'll tell you another story. When I was working at Costco, I needed a car. And I was looking at different ones at the lot, and I was like, man, this one looks nice. I'd like this one. What's the payment? Well, there was this guy I worked with named Ken. Shout out to Ken. He had a like 1983 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. It was 2 doors. It had like a leather top. It was blue and had like a gray leather top. It was, I don't know if you've seen that old show with Fonzie, and he had his leather jacket. That's how you felt if you drove that car. Well, anyways, he drove this car and he was telling me that, hey Tim, I'm trying to get rid of my car. And I was like, oh yeah? Well, how much you want for him? And he said, well, the AC doesn't work, the dash panel doesn't work, and the battery drains. And I called up the local scrapyard to see how much they'd give me for it. They said 200 bucks, and no one wants to buy this thing. So I said, well, Ken, if you can't find any buyers, I'll give you 250. Well, 2 weeks later, he says, hey Tim, I'll take that 250. Next thing you know, I was driving out 1983 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. I drove it to a mechanic that I knew that was super cheap. I had him fix it up, fix those things. It cost me another like 400 bucks. So now I'm into this car, 650, and my insurance was like 40, 50 bucks a month. Well, I drove this thing for like a year and a half, right? And it's actually one of my favorite cars to drive. It's kind of interesting when you drive a car that you like don't have to worry about like, oh, there's a shopping cart in this parking spot. Let me just bump it out of the way, right? So it's things like that you have no idea, right, how much it could be saving you. Things such as, do you notice that whenever you go to the mall, that you're always buying new clothes or something, buying new shoes, you gotta have this next pair of this, or you want a pair of that, or you want this new handbag, right? See, a lot of those things, it may just take some time to say like, you know what, I'm gonna take a sacrifice now for the greater good in the future. And next thing you know, if you can get some of this stuff on track, now I'm not the biggest person about budgets, but if you have the willpower and the sacrifice to have a budget, you'll see how fast that money starts stacking up. And that's without even earning extra money. That's just with getting used to how you spend your money in the best way possible. Like let's say you see a gym bill, you know, a monthly recurring gym fee on your credit card statement, but you're not going, right? Well, did you know most gyms you can call in and ask them to pause the bill? And they'll actually pause it for you until you come back. You can also ask them sometimes, you know, if I find someone else who wants to take my spot, will you let me? And many times they will, and all you gotta do is put a Craigslist ad up and said, hey, I paid the initiation fees for this. All you gotta do is take my spot, here how much the dues, and you can get it swapped out just like that. So it could take some creative thinking, but you see how that works. Now, one tool that I use to really keep track of where my spending goes is an app that you can get on your phone. It's called Mint. And what it is, you plug in all your credit cards, your bank accounts, everything, and it tracks all your spending. And then it also categorizes it so you can get a good eye, and so you don't have to do it by hand or manual. So check that out. I'll put a link to that too, Mint. The next area that we're gonna talk about, number 2, is earning more. Now with this, I wanna say, I don't feel that it's healthy to just be working like 70-hour weeks. As a human, it's good for your emotional stability and in life to be around other people, to enjoy social things, right? And to be around your family. So there's certain things that I don't think making money is worth sacrificing. So that being said, I would say, you know, are there certain times maybe you could work a little overtime? Or can you get a little side hustle? This brings me back to when I was like 14, 13. Me and my buddy, his name was Austin, right? Here we were on a sunny day, and we wanted to get some food. Well, we didn't have any money. We wanted to go to the local skate park, but that had a little entrance fee. Like, how are we gonna get in? So we thought about, well, what do we have at our disposal? How can we make some money? You know what he had? He had a lawnmower, and we had some gas, right? So we filled that lawnmower, and we started knocking on doors, right? Was it out of the comfort zone? Yes. Did we get a lot of people turn us down? Yes. We then started honing in our skills, focusing on lawns that needed to be mowed. And we'd start out with a high price. And when they say no, we'd say, yeah, we're negotiable, right? And we also said since we're kids and we don't know these people, we won't do backyards because it's kind of creepy. We were able to make some money like that just by thinking and maybe doing a little something outside the box. So what could something outside the box be for someone like yourself, right? Let's say you have your regular job. You're like, man, I don't want to mow lawns. And I totally get that. That'd be kind of interesting. You could try it, right? One thing that I know a lot of people do is Uber and Lyft drivers, right? All you have to do is get your car certified. Next thing you know, let's say you come home from work and it's a little bit of a drive, you just flip that on and try to give 1 or 2 people rides each day after work, right? That money starts to add up. You see little things like that. Now, I know this channel is based solely on a private label, but I have had experience with doing retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, and drop shipping. And you know what? Those other different ways of selling online, they work well, not nearly as good as private label. And I feel a little biased because I've done all of them to a high degree, and private label is by far the best once you get it going. But perhaps you can do a little bit of this on the side, a little online arbitrage, a little retail arbitrage, just to try to supplement and put that money away. So those are the 2 areas, right? We have spending less, which you should read a book on, and finding ways to maybe earn a little bit more, a little bit of a hustle, right? And if you're young, you know, maybe you have some relatives, you can reach out to them and say like, hey, you know, here's what I'm trying to do. Is there anything that I can, you know, do to earn a little bit of extra money? So those are a couple tips. Now I have a couple bonus tips that I think are pretty interesting. Now, the first one is when it comes to making large purchases, right? We all have to make purchases from time to time. Or you have your recurring purchases, whether it's, you know, toilet paper, paper towels, things like that, right? Well, we've all seen those couponing shows. So, you know, harness a little bit of that. Try to find, you know, take a little bit of time and say like, okay, when some good deals come across for these staple items that are gonna be recurring, I'm gonna load up on those, and you'll see an instant impact on savings. Another pro tip is using gift cards to purchase things, right? These are things that are gonna be essentials. So a website that I recommend is raise.com. Raise, like you just got a raise, right? And we're talking about earning more money, got a raise, get it? So I'll put a link to that down in the description too. But with Raise, they offer discounted gift cards to many different retailers, right? So whether you shop at Whole Foods, whether you shop at Target, whether you shop at Walmart, whether you shop at Kmart, all these different things, they have full price gift cards at a couple percentage point discount. See, that can save you some money right there. Now, I don't recommend you going on that site and being like, oh man, I can get some pair of shoes for 10% off. I like it. But what I do recommend is stacking, right? Stacking the coupons, like I told you, with one of these Raise gift cards, and now you got a really good savings, right? And keep those in your wallet. Next thing you know, you're able to just cut off a couple percentage points. The third and final tip is another app that is very useful. It's called Capital with a Q. Now it's pretty interesting. This helps people save and in little increments. So basically what you can do is you can set up different rules in this app. Of course, you have to connect your credit card, your bank account, everything to it. But what it does is when you go to spend, let's say you go to Starbucks and you spend $9.50 on your triple shot caramel macchiato or whatever it is, it rounds up to the nearest dollar. Or you can set it to round up to the nearest $2. And whenever you make a purchase like that, it actually rounds up and it takes that money and puts it aside into a small amount, into a small account, right? And you can actually set goals in there, goal amounts. And whenever it pulls the money, it goes towards that. And you can see how close you're getting to those goal amounts. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty like mindless, but it also helps you save money without you even having to think about it. You can also say, you know what, let's say you're addicted to Starbucks and you're like, man, I really gotta cut down. Well, there's a setting in there, it's called like guilty pleasure. And you can set up for something like Starbucks where you're really trying to cut out on, that if you do go to Starbucks, it has to round up to the next $5 increment and it goes to the account. You can set up all these really interesting things. It makes it so you can save money pretty mindlessly. Again, how bad do you want it? Are you willing to take the time to sit down, to look at how you spend your money, to find ways you can cut out? Are you willing to perhaps drive a car that's not as nice? Maybe not buy the newest pair of shoes, maybe not get your hair cut every week and a half for $30. Different things like that. Are you willing to do it? Are you willing to, you know, I know you love that grass-fed organic beef that costs X amount per pound. But can you just get with the, the natural beef that's steroid free? It's still good for you. It's not like the pristine. So it's all about weighing these things out, Is it more important to you to drive that fancy car now, or in the future do you want it? Is it more important to you to get that new pair of shoes now, or is it more important to you to potentially launch your private label item? Again, if you're just starting out, you need some extra capital, I recommend reading a book, especially if you're tapped out on your income. Reading a book on how to save money, how to spend less and earn more, and trying to find a little side hustle that'll make you some more money. And you'll notice if you employ a few of these tips, money starts to stack up. And next thing you know, you're ready to hit the ground running. Now I'm gonna post a video down below, and this is a motivational video that I always liked watching. Check it out, hope you guys like it too. It's not from my channel or anything, it's just, it has a bunch of millions of views, so somebody likes it. And if there's any motivational videos that you guys like, make sure to also post them down, a link down below, so that I can check those out too. I appreciate it. So I hope this helps. I hope some of these tips help you guys. I know it's helped me in the past before I got to a point where I didn't have to worry about things like that so much, and I hope it helps you guys too. All right, see you guys later.